Hello, friends. Welcome to Literary Concepts. Today's topic is the Edwardian Age, which starts in 1901 and ends in 1910. Now, let us try to learn about the Edwardian Age. The Edwardian Age in English literature refers to the period during the reign of King Edward VII, which was started in 1901 and ended in 1910, but often it extends up to the outbreak of the World War One in 1914. So the Edwardian Age is also a part of the modern age of English literature, so which happened during the rule of King Edward VII. So that is from 1901 to 1910. So, but often, it continued up to the outbreak of the World War One in 1914. The Edwardian Age extended up to the start of the World War One in 1914. So this period was marked significant societal changes. We find important social changes. Okay, changes in society, just like questioning of Victorian ideals, the changes like questioning of Victorian principles, the rise of the middle class, and the growing awareness of social inequalities. So, these aspects we find during the Edwardian age, the changes which we find during the Edwardian age, the literature of the Edwardian age reflects this transitional phase, this transformational phase, which captures tensions between tradition and modernity, which regards the tensions, the anxieties and the worries, okay, the disturbances between the tradition and the modernity. Now let us try to understand about the characteristics of Edwardian age. The first characteristic is social criticism. So Edwardian writers, they criticized the rigid class system, the stiffness, the strict class system during that time. So by addressing issues like poverty, inequality, and the exploitation of the working classes. So the Edwardian writer, they criticized the rigid class system, as well as they addressed the issues like poverty, inequality, and the exploitation of the working class people. So the next characteristic is a decline of Victorian idealism. So there is a decline, degradation of Victorian idealism. The Edwardian period saw a departure from the strict moral codes and optimism of the Victorian era. So we find that there is a departure. Okay, they left the moral codes and the optimism of the Victorian time, and the writers explored the themes of disillusionment. So that is the disappointment, disillusionment, and question the established norms, the established rules and standards and the norms, the established customs. So that is the second characteristic of Edwardian age. Next, the third one is focus on individualism. The third characteristic of Edwardian age is focus on individualism. Edwardian literature or the Edwardian writers, they emphasized individual experiences, inner conflicts, and personal growth, reflecting a shift towards modernist concerns. So we find there is giving importance to individual experiences, the experiences of individual, and then the inner conflicts, the inner the inner uh, disagreements, and the personal growth. So these aspects we find more in the Edwardian literature. So, therefore, there is a shift towards modernist interests. Understand? The next, the fourth characteristic is interest in women's rights. So, the fourth characteristic is interest in women's rights. The growing feminist movement influenced Edwardian literature. So, the beginning of the feminist movement and the development of the feminist movement influenced the Edwardian writers. So, writers addressed the roles and struggles of women in society. So, that the writers of the Edwardian literature, Edwardian age, so they dealt with the roles and the struggles of women in society. The next characteristic is themes of nostalgia and change. So that is nostalgia means so remembering the past, or the sentimental longing desire of the past. So Edwardian period was marked by a sense of nostalgia. We find that so they were the sentimentally very sentimental about for disappearing the way of life, okay, for the degradation or decline of the way of life, and especially the rural and aristocratic traditions, the rural and so the aristocratic traditions, the noble respectable traditions. So these, that rural life and aristocratic traditions, that life was completely disappearing. So, whereas juxtaposed with, understand, so it is compared with the realities of industrialization and urbanization. So, the rural and aristocratic way of life is compared and contrasted with the realities of the industrialization and urbanization which happened during the Edwardian Edwardian age. So these are the important characteristics of Edwardian age. Now let us try to understand the major writers and their works of Edwardian time. The first writer is Joseph Conrad. So Joseph Conrad, whose time period started in 1857 and ended in 1924. So he was a Polish-born novelist. So he was born in Poland. Okay, he was he belonged to Poland. So Polish-born novelist Conrad explored the themes like human nature, morality, and the clash of cultures in his works. His important works are The Heart of Darkness, so which was published in 1899, but as a book, in a book form, The Heart of Darkness published in 1902. So it was a novella. Novella means a short novel, so which criticized the European imperialism through the journey of Marlowe into the Congo. Understand? The next work is Lord Jim, which was published in 1900. So it was a novel which focused the themes like guilt, redemption, and honor. So, Heart of Darkness and Lord Jim are the two important works of Joseph Conrad. The next writer is H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells, whose time period started in 1866 and ended in 1946. So he's known as the father of science fiction. H.G. Wells is known as father of science fiction. Wells also wrote social novels, so critiquing class inequalities. So Wells also wrote social based, the society based novels, so where that he criticized the inequalities in the class, inequalities in the society. So his important works are, the first one is The War of the Worlds, which was published in 1898. The War of the Worlds, which was published in 1898. It was one of the first of science fictions, pioneering science fiction novel. So it was a new science fiction novel about Martian invasion. So Martian means which is related to the Mars, okay, planet Mars invasion. The next work is Tono Bungay. So Tono Bungay, so which was published in 1909. It was a semi-autobiographical novel, so criticizing materialism and capitalism. Tono Bungay, so is a semi-autobiographical novel, so where that he criticized materialism and capitalism. The next writer is E.M. Forster's, whose lifespan started in 1879 and ended in 1970. So Forster's novels focus on human connections, societal norms, and personal freedom. His novels so focus more on the human connections, human bondings, so societal norms, societal customs, and personal freedom. His important works are A Room with a View. So M. Foster's A Room with a View, which was published in 1908. So it was a novel which explores the themes of individuality and social constraints, social restrictions. The next work is Howard's Howard's End, which was published in 1910. So it is a critique of class divisions. It is a critique of class divisions, focusing on the relationship between three families. So, which focuses on the relationship between three families. The next writer is John Galsworthy. John Galsworthy, whose time period started in 1867 and ended in 1933. So, Galsworthy, known for his detailed portrayals of Edwardian society. So he's very much famous for detailed portrayals of Edwardian society and its complexities, its difficulties. His important works are, the first one is the Forsyth Saga, which was published in 1922. So, a series of novels. So, Farsight Saga was a series of novels exploring the lives, ambitions, and conflicts of an upper middle class family. So, which explores the lives, ambitions, and conflicts of an upper middle class family. The next work is Justice, which was published in 1910. So it was a play which addresses the issues of penal reform and social inequality. So penal means a disciplinary reforms. The next writer is Arnold Bennett. Arnold Bennett, whose time period started in 1867 and ended in 1931. So Bennett captured the lives of ordinary people, especially in England's industrial regions. So Arnold Bennett recorded the lifestyle of the ordinary people, particularly in England's industrial areas. So his important works, the first one is The Old Wife's Tale, which was published in 1908. So it was a novel which traces the lives of two sisters and their contrasting experiences. So it is tracing the lives of two sisters and their contrasting experiences. Then the next work is Anna of the Five Towns, which was published in 1902. So it was a study of industrial life and personal sacrifice in Staffordshire. Staffordshire. The next writer is Rudyard Kipling. So Rudyard Kipling, whose time period started in 1865 and ended in 1936. So Kipling was a controversial figure. He was a controversial figure who wrote about the British imperialism. Rudyard Kipling wrote about the British imperialism. So, imperialism means a rule by the emperor, a rule by the king, as well as deeply personal works. His important works are the first one is Kim, which was published in 1901. So, it was a novel set in British occupied India. Okay, blending adventure with the themes of identity and colonialism. So it combined the adventures with the themes of identity and colonialism. The next work is Just So Stories, which was published in 1902. So a collection of whimsical tales. So whimsical means fanciful, fantastical tales for children. Okay, fantasy tales for children. The next writer is G.K. Chesterton, whose time period started in 1874 and ended in 1936. So he was a prolific writer known for his wit and philosophical musings. So, very clever use of language. And Chesterton critiqued modernity and celebrated tradition. So, Chesterton he criticized the modernity and he celebrated the tradition and customs. So, his important works are The Man Who Was Thursday. The Man Who Was Thursday is the first work which was published in 1908. It was a philosophical thriller exploring anarchism and faith. Anarchism means a political philosophy that just seeks to abolish all institutions or a state of society, a society without a government or any system of laws. That is anarchism. So the next work is Orthodoxy, which was published in 1908 only. So a work of Christian apologetics. So, Christian apologetics examining modern ideologies. Apologetics means defending the religious doctrines. So, justification of Christian doctrines. So, which examines the modern ideologies also. The next writer is J.M. Barrie. J.M. Barrie, whose time period started in 1860 and ended in 1937. So he's known for his creation of Peter Pan. So he is famous for his writing of Peter Pan. So Barrie captured the themes of innocence, nostalgia, and escapism. So we find the themes like innocence, nostalgia, and escapism. Escapism means here diverting or distracting from the reality. Okay, in a entertaining manner. So diverting or escaping from reality through an entertainment. So that is escapism. James Barrie's important works are number one, Peter Pan. So which was published in 1904 as a play. As a play, it was published in 1904, but as a novel as Peter and Wendy, so it was published in 1911. So, Peter Pan was a play and a novel which explores childhood, imagination, and the fear of growing up. The next work is The Admirable Crichton. The Admirable Crichton, which was a play which was published in 1902. So it was a satirical play about class distinctions and human adaptability. So class differences and human adaptability adjustments. The next writer is George Bernard Shaw, G.B. Shaw, popularly known as G.B. Shaw. So whose time period started in 1856 and ended in 1950. So George Bernard Shaw his plays often criticized the societal norms, particularly regarding class and gender. So his important works are number one, the Pygmalion, so which was performed in 1912 and published in 1913. Pygmalion first performed in 1912 and it was published in 1913 as a play. So a play which explores the themes of transformation, language, and class. The next work is Man and Superman. So, which was published in 1903. It was a philosophical comedy addressing love, morality, and human evolution. So, Man and Superman explores the themes like love, morality, and human evolution. So these are the important writers and their works of Edwardian age. I hope you understand. So thank you so much.